All right, welcome everyone. We're gonna get going here. We now have a quorum. Today is Tuesday, July 8th, and this is the Economic Development meeting. This meeting is being recorded by the Economic Development Committee. If any other persons present are doing the same at this time, you must notify the chairperson. Okay. It's fun to write, record a recording. All right. Moving on to the second item, roll call members. We're gonna take a roll call. I am here. Counselor Mastero is absent. Counselor Gordon,
Here.
Counselor Bullock,
Here.
and Counselor Minhouse absent. All right, moving on is approval of the previous minutes from April 8th and May 13th. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor? We got to do roll call. Counselor Healy is a yes. Counselor Gordon,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock.
Yes.
All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Did anybody want to sign up for public comment?
Yes,
Yeah, why don't you sign up right now and then we'll get,
First. Are you two? You last say. If you don't, you're. Did I sit back down or sit right
you
here?
might as well sit right there. I won't make you go back and forth.
Okay. There we go.
And anybody online, if you want to make public comment, just put your name in the chat. All right, thank you so much. All right, first for public comment, we have Wisty Rohrabacher.
Right. Wisty Rohrabacher.
Just state your name and address, please.
Wisty Rohrabacher, 28 Prospect Avenue. Just about 2 blocks from the lot, from the Hope Street lot. So my partner Judy and I want to say we got together a couple of community meetings with Susan too, to see if we could get input from people who live right around that area. And it was mostly like our street, a little bit of Prospect Street, and mostly folks who lived down Hope Street. And so I'll try to say first I'm going to say my opinion. I'm real pleased about thinking about getting housing in this, in this lot. One of the things that I was really hoping is that we would get housing there that would have in mind really bringing in the community nearby. Like that housing would be so close to the Y. It would be right there by the library. It's, it's so central. And then from the meeting that we had, one of the really big interests seemed to be that people up and down Hope Street are so proud of living there, I would say, which is pretty good because it doesn't necessarily have that nice of a reputation. So people were really interested in doing things that would help Hope Street become alive. They were hoping to bring light, hoping to have reason for people to be walking up and down those sidewalks. And what we were hoping was that the way the housing on that lot is structured and the landscaping is thought through, that it would like facilitate that kind of a community spirit. Like for me personally, and I think that in general, particularly if it could encompass a spirit like I'm describing. And the other thing is there was a big turnout to come to those meetings. And one of the things that seemed to be communicated was that people would really like a say in what's happening. It doesn't mean that they felt like they had to be absolutely listened to, but the things that happened in our neighborhood really quickly after those meetings, it just helped the attitude in the whole neighborhood. So if those kinds of things could be incorporated into the whole building process, I think that it would just enrich that whole neighborhood. And I think if that neighborhood were enriched, that's part of the entry coming in to Greenfield. It could enrich the whole of Greenfield. So there are so many benefits that I think could happen with a well-planned out process and building. And the only last thing I want to say is very close to us. There's a large apartment that I think is all, I don't know the appropriate correct terms, but I think it's all low income. And it's been quite problematic. Police will come often. We are never, ever bothered. We don't hear, and we're not that many houses down, but we don't hear noises. We don't hear whatever. But people who are up closer to that apartment, they have a lot of noise, a lot of yelling, a lot of issues like that. So their concern, a concern that some people have, is then having a facility that somehow is not created and thought through in such a way that there's a community spirit. I think you get what I'm saying. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I hope this happens.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Susan Wargaftic.
Good evening. My name is Susan Wargaftic. I live at 45 Forest Avenue, and I am here not just representing myself, but also representing Housing in Greenfield. And we worked with Rusty and Judy on developing those 2 community meetings. And one of the things that I think is very clear is that there's a real need for housing there. It makes sense to have housing there. We certainly don't need another parking lot. And there are ways to do some very exciting things there that will be not just welcomed by the community, but provide something new and something interesting. So for instance, we had an architect there, Erica Gies, who was on the planning board. And she said, it's possible to put the parking underneath. So for that housing. So that changes that whole neighborhood. It's not just a block with some houses, with some cars around it. There was interest in that meeting of possibly having a coffee shop there, which certainly in relation to the courthouse would probably do very well. Those kinds of things, that there might be not big businesses, but small local businesses as part of the housing there. So there's a lot of openness to looking at this in a very broad way. In terms of who lives there, mixed income, affordable housing, any kind of mixture thereof, I think is most welcome. While we've been working on affordable housing in Housing Greenfield, we also recognize that there's a need for other housing, and a mixture there would make a lot of sense. And it would also probably provide some opportunities for Hope and Olive and some other places there in that neighborhood. Plus, Mark Zacchio is eventually going to build across the street. So that has the potential for really changing what the entrance to Hope Street off of Main Street looks like. So we're very much in support of seeing this being made surplus and being put out there for the development of housing. And we look forward to being supportive in any way we can to make it all happen. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last on the list is Judy Draper.
Hi, I also live at 28 Prospect Avenue and was part of that community meeting. And I think basically they've said everything that I can think of, except one thing is people were talking about children, and hopefully there would be some children in some of that housing. And it would be really nice to have a park with some kind of, not a big playground like hillside or something, but just some open green space that would be available for not just the people who live in the housing that's made there, but for the whole community. And I think that would help bring the people who live in will live in the housing together with the people who already live in the community. So, yeah, just hope that can be kept in mind.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I do think I think there can be more support. I mean, we felt out the neighborhood, and some people were really not, all they could think of was the problem housing that we have in the neighborhood, and that's all they could think of. But once we started thinking about and talking about other possibilities, I think there's more openness to that development now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody online like to speak? I don't see anybody in the group chat, so if you did, you could raise your hand or put it in the group chat. All right. We are going to move on from public comment then. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. There are none. And then next item would be motion, which is approved to declare real estate located at 53 Hope Street as surplus property and authorize the mayor to sell city-owned land. So there are a couple of motions that I'll read out, but A1 is order number FY 26-001. Move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council declares real estate at 53 Hope Street being shown on Assessor Map 52 Lot 25 to be surplus property and transfers said property to the mayor for sale. And A2, which is order number FY 26-001, that the Greenfield City Council authorizes the mayor to sell 53 Hope Street, Assessors Map 52 Lot 25 pursuant to the City Council policy for the sale of city-owned land and authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary to accomplish this. So I'm going to open this up to discussion. We did invite Amy here to kind of talk about this because I know that she's put together a lot of documentation on this in the packet. So if you want to join us, Amy, that'd be great.
So credit for 90% of that documentation goes to Eric, not me. Get that here, so.
So I had some questions. You could start off.
Lay it on me. No, I feel like I sent to city council the bullet points that is language pulled from our draft RFP.
Mhm.
And I think we tried to take into account both our internal recognition that this Hope Street lot is a really special, excellent downtown lot, and we want to maximize the use of it for the best of our community. And also the comments that our department heard from those community meetings. And I think that, though I may have a couple of tweaks after the comments tonight, that we tried to create an RFP that was relatively open. We didn't limit it to just certain LMI affordable housing types. We left it open because I can see a number of things that work well. We left the use for housing or mixed housing plus commercial to accommodate proposals that might have commercial on the first floor. We mentioned in there proposals that complement the neighboring area. We would love to see a proposal that takes into account places like Hope and Olive and the courthouse and the neighbors and comes up with something creative. And we asked for a viable plan that has minimal on-street parking demands. I don't know what that might look like, but we want at least the developer to come with some conversation about how they will deal with parking and not just, we're going to plunk 80 units and best of luck to you. So I feel like we've done a decent job, but ask away.
Yeah, I do love that. And one of the comments made was the parking underneath the structure. And I was doing a study in Northampton to do something very similar. And that was something we liked about the design of our building. We were going to put parking underneath because it left a lot with a lot of green space, right? So like that was a big advantage because tenants parked underneath. There's a couple stairwells that went up on each side with elevators. And it allowed you to utilize this because that is a tight site. It's not very large. There is an easement running through it, I think.
There is, yep, that goes
sewer.
over to the Y. Oh, sorry, there is
Yeah.
another separate easement along the side to give access to the Y lot.
I thought I saw a sewer easement in there too, but I might have been looking at it wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think there is one.
Yeah. So obviously, that kind of restricts the site a little more. I love this idea. I think the RFP package should be pretty open and I hope we get a lot of people that look at this. Going back to the comments the public had made, I think it's a great idea having some sort of community engagement. as the RFP package kind of comes in, making sure we have enough time to review that RFP and maybe have a public meeting with the public to say, here's what was presented, you know, and here's our options. And kind of getting their feedback since it is such a big part of the community, right? I don't know how that works with state law, but.
I'm not sure that the review process could be quite that open, but I did make a note to think and talk about internally how we can incorporate maybe a representative from the community or something in that RFP review
Mhm.
process. The other thing that our department has talked about once this gets a little bit further down the road is going back to that neighborhood group that held those earlier meetings before we finalize the RFP so that we can make sure that our language that we feel comfortable with also reflects to the best that we can their hopes and desires for the lot as well. And if there's ways that we can tweak language to do that before we issue the RFP.
Yeah, because, you know, from what I recall, when I won the RFP in Deerfield, that was basically, we were in a conference room, they opened up the envelopes, they looked at all the bids. They looked at our renderings and they voted on it that day, who they were going to award it to. So I just wasn't sure like how that process would work.
I imagine, yeah, we would send out, we would, the way that we're structuring our RFP, it's not just the top dollar or the lowest
Exactly.
dollar amount. We would evaluate each proposal. Anticipating that we might get multiple proposals, I think we would send it around to a committee in advance with a scoring rubric.
Yeah.
And then once people had a chance to review, then we'd gather in a public hearing and
That's a great way to do it.
hash it out.
Great way to do it. All right, that was the only questions I had. Anybody else?
I'm curious, like, do you have a sense of what the sort of developer appetite is for this kind of project right now? Like, what do you think will be kind of the
I
bulk?
know that, sorry,
Well, what kind of bids are you expecting? And maybe, you know, do you anticipate?
I have
like,
no idea.
one or two, or?
I am, I will say that for this parcel, I have been contacted by two separate folks who are interested. And this hasn't even been surplused much yet,
Yeah.
the RFP issued. So that suggests to me that there is definitely an interest there. I have no idea what to expect in terms of proposals because we are trying to leave it relatively open within the housing universe.
Yeah.
Typically, right now, it's more financially viable to build affordable or a mixed affordable and market rate. So my good guess is that's likely more what we'll get, but again, it's a really special parcel and so who knows? I don't know.
Great. I mean, I think the whole project is wonderful. I hope that we can do it with as much, you know, an eye toward what the community, especially the neighborhood, is hoping for as possible, but.
Yeah, I feel like we're relatively in sync with the hopes of their group, and so I'm hoping we can do that too.
I hope we can find a developer who also is interested in being in
I
sync
feel
with.
like it, we're planning on, sharing it widely and, we'd love to work with somebody local, but also if there's somebody out there that has a great idea, bring it on.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions, Counselor Bullock, or?
No questions. Just I'm also really happy to see this coming to fruition. When I first ran, this was just an idea that my predecessor like pinned for me that lot would become housing. And so it's really, really refreshing when these things like come all the way through and are happening. So, and I'm a Hope Street resident, so I'm very excited for this project and bought my house on Hope Street. One of the reasons was my kids could walk to the library and to downtown. And so think that this is just a great idea for increasing housing and making it, more really exciting and attractive housing for Greenfield too.
Okay. Well, are you guys ready to take a vote on this?
Ready?
All right, so this will be a roll call vote. Order number FY 26-001 A1. Move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council declares real estate at 53 Hope Street being shown on Assessor Map 52, Lot 25 to be surplus property and transferred said property to the mayor for sale. Majority vote required. So I am in favor of this, so I'm a yes. Counselor Gordon
Yes.
and Counselor Bullock.
Yes.
Perfect. Moving on to the next one. Order number FY 26-001 A2. Move that be ordered that the Greenfield City Council authorizes the mayor to sell 53 Hope Street, Assessor Map 52, Lot 25, pursuant to the City Council policy for the sale of city-owned land, and authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary to accomplish the same. I am in favor of this. Counselor Gordon,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock.
Yes.
That was easy.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks to the public for sure. Going back to our agenda. If I could find the right page now, because I moved all my stuff around. The next item is discussion for potential new zoning amendment for the multifamily restrictions in the CC district. So after our last meeting, I kind of pondered about this a little bit and tried to come up with another compromise, I guess. So I'll pass these around. I'll email it to you after, Mary Ann, because you're not here. But what I'm looking to do is have this a joint hearing at the next EDC meeting on this topic to kind of go through this. So I did shrink this down. And what this states is that we're going to amend section 200-14 Central Commercial District of the zoning ordinance to require that some multifamily developments within the CC district be mixed residential business use. So that reads as follows. Multifamily dwelling units in accordance with 200-40 subsection B 1(4) through 9, all multifamily developments within the following areas of the Central Commercial District shall be mixed residential business uses. Main Street from Fort Square to Franklin Street. So I actually, we shrunk down that restriction because it made sense past Fort Square to allow any multifamily to go in there. And then Federal Street from Main Street to Pleasant and all Bank Row. And what that really does, it kind of represents our core storefront district that we're trying to bring life back to. And, you know, after this didn't go through the first time, I'll be the first to admit I was pretty disappointed. I was really trying to, you know, help the GBA out and other people. And, you know, we wanted Amy to kind of comment on this as well to see how she felt about it, but I know her feelings are probably fairly similar to mine, but, you want to come up, Amy?
I deeply appreciated this amendment. I was somebody who pushed back last time, sorry.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great compromise. For me, it protects the commercial space in that downtown commercial core where we really need to preserve that space, but doesn't unduly restrict housing throughout the entirety of downtown. So I appreciated this amendment. And
Yeah, and that's my goal, right? My goal was never to restrict housing in the CC district at all. It's just the preservation of our main street and the commercial storefronts and having that vibe, especially, you know, with this Hope Street thing going through. If you get a lot of residents, 64 units, and they're going to be walking downtown, you're going to want those storefronts to be vibrant, right? So all I'm trying to do here is protect that and protect those businesses from, you know, a developer coming in and saying, we're going to make this whole building multifamily with first floor dwellings. We would still, because we already passed the accessible housing on 50% of the first floor, that still applies. So that would still be in place. We're not voting on this tonight. This is really just here for discussion. I'd like to kind of see how you guys feel about it, because I'd like to kind of get it in a form that maybe we could come to agreement on before our next meeting, so we could have a joint meeting and get it right in front of council and kind of move on with this. So I'm open for discussion here. I'm really open to see what we need to do to get this through. As long as you don't say special permit in there, I'm going to be fine. But go ahead.
No, I'm happy with this. I think, you know, I had similar, some pushback last time and concerns about, you know, overly restricting potential housing development, but I'm totally with you on preserving commercial space downtown. I think that this is a really good compromise. And I hope that we can get this passed. And I also hope that we can then kind of like be done with zoning stuff for a while, as I know you are too. Because I think that we've spent a lot of time talking about various zoning options and possibilities and proposals over the last couple of years. But I think this is a great kind of way to, you know, close out all of the things that we've been talking about and find a good compromise solution that I think should make everybody happy. I hope it will. It makes me happy. So
Thank you.
I support it.
I want to read it, but it sounds great.
I get it.
Can you, sorry, I'm on vacation and didn't do my homework. I was like swimming,
Yeah.
which is why I was late. So I'm sorry. But can you just tell me like, what's the specific difference here? It's just that it's not laying out a percentage, or what is the actual?
It's the limits on Main Street that change. So we stopped at
Okay.
Fort Square, which is kind of like that weird intersection right past the Toyota or Ford Toyota dealership.
Yeah,
We kind of come out
Yep.
by Ryan and Casey's before it extended further down Main
Okay.
Street. And, you know, as I thought about it, it was kind of like, well, you know, you got that empty lot where the old hotel used to be. And you have other lots down there that kind of fit more into the multifamily atmosphere. So I was like, if I shrink it a little bit, it kind of leaves that space open. It kind of protects the important spaces on Main Street that are already active storefronts or businesses. Yeah, so that was kind of the idea behind it.
Okay, great. Yeah, it sounds less restrictive than last time. And as we talked after the zoning meeting, I'm
Yeah.
happy to find a compromise, because I know I did talk to some constituents after the vote who were concerned. I didn't share the same sort of like outrage of concern, level of concern, but
Mhm.
I'm happy to find a compromise that feels easier for most people.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'll forward this email out to full council after with this write-up. And then I'll request on the next meeting that it be put as a joint meeting between the EDC and the planning board, because we do have to do another joint meeting. And then we'll hopefully get it on the next city council agenda.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it back up.
Not a problem. And that is it for tonight. So the next meeting is August 12th, 2025. City Hall Meeting Room, second floor, Zoom hybrid unless otherwise posted. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second,
And now we got a roll call of that. I am a yes to adjourn. Counselor Gordon
I am a yes.
and Counselor Bullock.
I am a yes.
Enjoy your vacation.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks for
you.
being here, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Bye.